Nothing is back with the Nothing Phone 3, its first flagship level smartphone. Of course, yes, they've got the translucent design that lets you see a little bit of the technology underneath, because at the end of the day, Nothing is a really interesting design company. But they've gotten rid of their huge Glyph LEDs in place of the Glyph Matrix, this little circle up at the top that you can cycle through different use cases and tricks. Very interesting. I'm Jason Howell. I unboxed the Nothing Phone 3 on the Android Faithful podcast. Check it out. I got something in the mail.
Yes, you did.
Yesterday, and I've saved it for today.
What do you mean, Jason? I thought you didn't get anything in the mail. Didn't you get nothing?
No, that's true. I didn't get something. I definitely got nothing. This is the Nothing Phone 3, and as Nothing loves to do, they give you a big bold box. In this case, they're giving you a close-up of the non-symmetrical camera and Glyph Matrix layout, but they make it really fun to open these boxes because it's kind of like a destructive experience often, although this one doesn't seem as destructive as some of the other ones have been. Hopefully it doesn't stump me. But anyways, I thought, what better way to kick off a review process of a smartphone than to unbox it and show it off for video viewers. Audio listeners, you just get crinkles of paper and everything. There's other stuff in here, but you really don't care about that. Well, actually, there's a case. Okay, well, I'll probably put that on. It's a see-through case. All right, get out of here. This is the Nothing Phone 3. I'm going to kick it off into boot up mode right now as I can tell you just a little bit about it. Hopefully it has a little bit of juice. Got the essential. Oh, the essential button on the side is got a shiny quality to it. 6.67 inch OLED, 120 hertz display, 4,500 nits of peak brightness. I feel like this thing's going to be screaming when I'm outdoors. That'll be interesting. HDR10 plus display as well. I'm, of course, going to skip right through this so that we can get right to the home screen and everything and hopefully test out the Glyph Matrix. Snapdragon 8S Gen 4 processor. Yes, skip, which is not the highest, it's not a Snapdragon, Elite, it's not the 8 Elite necessarily, but, is it good enough? I don't know. I guess that's one of the criticisms that people are saying about this phone is that, it's $799 in the US, $899 if you get maxed 16 gigs, 512 gig storage. But Nothing is definitely calling this, their flagship. And I think a discussion that I continue to have around this is there a difference between premium and flagship? Is a flagship relative to a company's offerings, or does a flagship mean best of the best across all categories? And I'm not sure that I agree that flagship means best of the best across all categories. I think it's relative to what a company offers, but I could be wrong. I don't know. What do you think on that, Michelle? Do you think that's in the right ballpark?
Yeah, I think, it's kind of in a weird position where they're treating it like their flagship device because for them, it's their flagship
For them,
device.
it is, right.
But it doesn't have the most flagship processor, so a lot of people have been criticizing them for that. But also, it's like a pretty high-end price, but not, as expensive as some other super premium flagship devices. And it doesn't have the absolute pinnacle of camera specs or everything. It's kind of in a weird place. It's in the past, this is the kind of device you would call a flagship killer device, which never really made sense as an actual product.
Gotta
term.
love that old saw.
But it's it's in that position where it has good enough specs in a lot of key areas, especially where the areas that matter to smartphone enthusiasts. But it's still not competing in terms of the camera quality in some areas, or it doesn't have the Snapdragon 8 Elite. So it is kind of in a weird spot. And I think overall, there are certain things that elevate it above others, even in higher price categories, certain things that kind of detract. It really is in an awkward position, but I'm curious to hear what you think about it after you're using it for a while.
Yeah, I mean, this is my kind of first opportunity having it in my hands. It has a little bit of weight. Definitely, we were talking about thin phones, and this does not, it's not the thinnest phone in the world. It feels, without having the Ultra to compare it directly against, it feels kind of in that territory of thickness. But that's not automatically a bad thing. It feels consequential and heavy enough. I think a lot of people were kind of giving it a little bit of a ding for the kind of camera layout, which has had a little bit more symmetry, I think, in the past than it seemingly does right now. Really, it's just these three cameras, but when you're talking about the lenses, these two are lined up. This one's kind of off to the side, but you can kind of see it's not like it doesn't have its own styling that's centered there. I don't know. I have a feeling this is the kind of design that's you're either going to love or you're going to hate. It's probably pretty polarizing as far as that's concerned. This, I believe, is more the LED flash. And then this, of course, is the Glyph Matrix, which with this button, I've been curious about how the button operates. So if I tap it, you can see the LEDs light up. So instead of having the big Glyph LED bars all around the back of the phone, which is what we're used to with Nothing's phones, now we have this little circular matrix, which I think is something like 490 LEDs or something like that, that makes this up. And if I tap it, and it's not like, it's definitely a pressure sensitive area, but it's not a button that sticks out. So there is no tactile quality to that button. It's just right underneath the glass. If I tap it, which is just kind of pushing harder, then I don't know what some of these things are, but it kind of flips through some of the toys or whatever they call it. I can't remember what they call it. How do I get it to spin? I don't know how to operate it yet. Obviously some research for me to do on this thing. But anyways, you do have 3 50 megapixel cameras on the back. OIS on 2 of them with a 3x periscope telephoto as one of these. So that's good. This little red thing right here is a little LED that lights up. I think when you're like doing an audio recording or a video recording, I think that kind of blinks at you. In fact, I could probably test that out right now. If we go into, no, don't do that. Let's go ahead and record. Yes, there we go. Okay. So we heard a loud bleep. And now I know that I'm video recording. So is that necessary? These are just like the design touches that Nothing is so known for. Again, and I think we talked about this when this was announced, Nothing is a design company. They just happen to be a design company that bases their design around technology. So I think some of these things are neat. Are they essential? Are they necessary? No, but they're cool to have, I suppose. They differentiate. They give you the feeling when you have the phone that you have something that not many other people have. And I guess if you're a phone company, you want lots of other people to have it. So maybe they're hoping that changes. But 5150 milliamp hour battery here in the US. It's 5500 in India, by the way. 65 watt wired fast charge. You got 15 watt wireless charging, Android 15 with Nothing OS 3.5. You get 5 years of OS updates, 7 years of security. So not quite at that 7-year mark, but considering this is a less expensive device, also considering that this is a company that I don't know what their long-term support is going to be from a hardware perspective. I mean, I guess it's understandable, but I would always love to see 7 years. And I guess you get that with security. So at the end of the day, that's actually pretty good now that I think about it. IP68 durability. And then, that Glyph Matrix. There's a lot of different like toys, or I can't remember what they call them, that tap into that. I think the real question is, again, how instrumental is that? Does it achieve the same kind of the same utility that the Glyph lights did? Because I kind of got used to seeing those Glyph lights when a notification came through. I thought that was kind of neat and useful. And I actually wonder if this little area up there makes it a little bit less easy to see without explicitly trying to do so. Does that make sense? So I don't know, but I'm very curious to find out more about the Nothing Phone 3 that I have right here. That's all I got. I don't know. What do you think? Do you like the design? Every year it's same but different.
It's unique.
It's saying something. I like it.
I feel like other Nothing phones were unique in like a good way. Like they would catch a glance and everyone's like, "Oh, what is that phone? That looks nice. That looks cool, different." This one is like, people will say, "Oh, that looks unique," but then half of them will say, "Oh, it looks ugly."
Yeah.
The other half will say, "Oh, it looks interesting."
Right.
Some people will really vibe with it, but I feel like this is too far in the weird
It's the
direction.
backside. It's like remember when BMW was making all of their brake lights look like shells and it didn't look quite right? This is a very specific thing I'm bringing up, but it reminds me of like when you look at the back of a car, you're on the freeway and you're like, oh wow, I actually don't really like the design of that car. That's what the lenses and all the circular stuff on the back is doing for me. It's just like so many circles to kind of balance out.
Yeah, it feels unbalanced.
Eye.
Like it feels top heavy or something somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're not alone in thinking that. I think that's what a lot of people is throwing them off about this is there is a balance, a perception around misbalance here. I can tell you holding it, it doesn't feel misbalanced. It feels pretty evenly distributed from a weight perspective. It definitely does feel though like it has some kind of beef to it. You know what I mean? It feels consequential. It feels sturdy and slightly brick-like.
It's so funny because
probably put a hole in the wall with it.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not throwing this in my wall anytime soon.
No, it's funny because when you brought the box out, Jason, I actually think I like the design better on the box because it was square. Really? You know, like I don't know, that feels more balanced than the actual phone.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, just it makes a really good. That's the thing, though. I think like the hero images, the half shots. There's a lot to like about it, but when you actually hold it in your hand, it just there's so much empty space.
That's a really good point that you're bringing up because when I think of the other Nothing phones, they always had camera information in the top third as well. It's not, it was maybe more circular than it was laid out in like a horizontal fashion. But what they also did is they also had some interesting things going on here, some swirls, some arcs and stuff. And here what you're seeing is it's a very linear kind of design that kind of makes it seem like there's less going on.
Yeah.
And maybe if they had added some of these little kind of curvatures around here, it would fill in the space a little bit better, make it not seem like an empty canvas. And I think we're used to, from Nothing, not seeing an empty canvas. We're so used to seeing the opposite. And this is kind of showing us a little bit of emptiness that we're not used to seeing from them. That's an interesting point.
Just some emptiness. Some nothingness.
A little nothingness,
wait a minute.
to fill out the space.
Run something. Yeah.
Touche.
Too much nothing on the Nothing phone.
Right.
You need a little
So there
something
we
on
go.
the Nothing. Yeah.
So anyways, so I'm going to have the Flip and I'm going to have this, and they're going to be competing against each other. So that'll be interesting.